Hello everyone. So this session is about fragments. So we all already know that fragment is a small piece of code which is included in our activity whenever it is necessary. So what's the use of this fragment? Whenever you include plenty of activities, the performance of the particular application will get degraded. So to avoid such a degraded performance, we may include fragments in our document, in our activity. So here we have an activity. So we know that fragment is a small piece of code. So we may divide this activity maybe to two blocks. So here we can display one fragment in the upper part of this activity and another fragment in the lower part of this activity. Whenever we need the support of fragments, we may include it. If we don't need that support, we may remove the particular fragment or replace the fragment with some other fragment values. So whenever the fragments need to communicate, it needs the support of activity. So let us demonstrate how we can include this fragment in a static manner and with the help of code. Let us see how it works.
Experiment is about demonstrating the fragments. So before we move on to the experiment, we need to know how to use fragments and why we are using these fragments. So whenever we are creating an app, we used to create multiple activities to make our work done. So while creating many number of activities, the performance of the application will get degraded. So to manage the degradation, so to avoid degraded performance, we are using fragments. So fragments is a small piece of code which is embedded in our activity. So while embedding these fragments, the memory usage will get more efficient. So let us start with how to build fragment or how to build code with the fragments. So for this we have to add a fragment to the layout. So here I am clicking on the layout folder, right click on it and create a new fragment. So before that we are creating an activity. Now it's time to use this fragment option. So on choosing this fragment, we have to choose a blank fragment. So a blank fragment is created. We may rename it. So here for my convenience, I just rename it as fragment 1. So here I am going to create two fragments. So if you see the project explorer screen, you will see that here we have only one Java file and only one XML file. On clicking the finish button, you may observe that here we have one Java file and another XML file. So this is similar to an activity, but its working and its internals are different. So we don't have to do anything on this Java code, so we just close it. And again I have to create another activity, another fragment. So I just right click on this layout and select new fragment and then blank fragment. So here I name it as fragment 2 and just press finish button. Here also we have two files, one is Java file and another one is the XML file. If you like to do some operations on this fragment, you have to utilize this Java page also. So in this tutorial we are not going to do anything on this page, so I just close this page, and to differentiate these two fragments I just color it. So for this fragment, I just set the text color to color dot black. Okay, I just choose some other colors. If you know the hexadecimal code, you may specify the exact color of the text. So here I am randomly selected a particular color, and to make it as visible I just set the text size to 50 dp and changing this fragment value to hello fragment 1. So we are using the hard-coded string. If possible, you just include this text content in the string.xml. So I have created the first fragment with the name hello fragment 1, and again let us move on to the second fragment window and do the split screen. Here I just change the text to hello fragment 2 and setting the text size to 50 dp and the text color to some other colors. It is black. Okay, this color will be appeared on the activity. Okay, we have created two fragments. Let us see how to show this content in this main activity. So we have created two fragments, and here we are going to include this fragment here. Set the width to be match parent and the height to be 300 display pixels. Again I have set the ID for this fragment, so it is fragment 1, and again have to refer this fragment in a static manner. So here we don't use any other code to display this fragment here. So here I am going to use com.example.fragment. So here is the name of our first fragment, so I just place it here. Similarly we are going to create our second fragment also. So for this I just copy and paste this content and change the name of the fragment to fragment 2, and then fragment name to be fragment 2. Okay, let me check how this works in our activity. So here we have two fragments, we have created two fragments and we just include it in our activity. So let us run this app. So here we have two fragments. The first one is fragment 1 and the second one is fragment 2. Here how we are bringing those fragments in our activity. Okay, so similarly, in the similar manner, if you like to include these fragments in a dynamic manner, when I am clicking on a particular button, these fragments will appear. So just now we have demonstrated how to include a fragment in a static manner, and to include it in a dynamic fashion we have to specify two buttons. So the button ID be V1 and the text to be appeared on the button will be fragment 1. On clicking this button, fragment 1 will appear on the screen. The similar code has been followed for the button 2 also, ID slash B2, and then the text will be fragment 2. Okay, now we have created two buttons. One is fragment 1 and another one is fragment 2. Now we are going to show the fragment content on clicking each button. So let's start with the frame layout. So inside the linear layout we are creating a frame layout to show the particular content. Now I am going to change the layout width to match parent and the layout height to nearly 500 display pixels. Okay. Now I have to give an ID. This ID will be referred to display fragment 1 and fragment 2. So I just name this the container. So this portion will be act as a placeholder to display the content. So I just end this here. Now our aim is to display the fragment on this button click. So I just open my main activity and create a view button B1, B2. Since we are going to use two buttons here, and we have to create the instance for these two buttons. So find view by id of r.id.b1. So this will refer the button 1, and similar code for button 2 also. Now we have to include the action part. So b1 dot set on click listener of new view dot on click listener. The auto generated code will be like that, and we have to include, we have to create an object for fragment 1 and fragment 2. So first we have to create object for fragment 1. It's fragment 1 equals new fragment 1 of. Now to make it happen, we need the support of fragment transaction and a fragment manager. So to mingle that fragment to an activity, we need the support of get support fragment manager and dot begin transaction. So if you like to write those contents in the next successive pages, successive lines, you just put dot followed by begin transaction. So followed by begin transaction, we have to add the necessary components. So here I am going to add I'm referring that container, and on clicking this button, fragment 1 will be visible here. So to save the transactions, we use commit. So if you see the auto generated code, it will be fragment manager and followed by a fragment transaction. So right now we are completed with the fragment 1 code, and the fragment 2 code is similar to the fragment 1. So I just copy and paste those contents. Here we have to convert this B1 to B2, again this fragment 1 to fragment 2, and in the add also I just change it to F2. So this container is same for fragment 1 and fragment 2. Even though if you are creating n number of fragments, you may replace those fragments with this container. So whatever you shown in this container will be visible. So let's just check the working of this fragment program. So we have to wait for a few seconds. So the installation is in progress. So right now we have two buttons, fragment 1 and fragment 2. Clicking fragment 1, this container, this invisible container is filled with the views we have placed in the fragment 1. On clicking fragment 2, this will be replaced or overwritten with another content, fragment 2. So similarly, we may include any number of fragments with the help of this activity. So whenever you like to communicate between fragments, you have first send a message to the activity, and the message will be passed from the activity to the next fragment. So fragments will not communicate with each other directly. It needs the support of the activity